Greetings, listeners and viewers. Your host for the night, Zach, here introducing you to The Call of Cthulhu podcast by Twisted Gears Studios. Stay tuned later this week for a bit of a video update as to what to expect with updates to Spacers coming back and The Call 1973. Spoilers, they are happening. For our usual reminders, we air episodes every other Tuesday, premiering on YouTube at 6 p.m. with live community chat before going up on our audio services 1 hour later. If you're interested in supporting the show, please visit our Ko-fi page, where each coffee you donate is a luck point to the PC Luck Pool. If you're able to donate enough luck to the entire table each month, we'll add a penalty die to the keepers so that they can mess with us with those. So, there's that. But for now...
Last we left our investigators have finally regrouped deep in the mysterious lodge, with their main mission to find Alistair a success. The team must get their plan in order and decide what action to take next.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to another game. It's been around a week or so since our last recording, so hopefully it's still fairly fresh in the mind, especially since finally the group has melded together into a big amorphous blob.
Yeah.
What? No.
Not literally. Oh my god.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, because it's been around a week, I'm just gonna set the scene. You're in that side room, sort of like, at a con, a panel, or a lecture room or something. If you were in school, whatever it is, you got a pile of chairs. There was a slight stage. Cross was, because the stage is a little bit higher, slotted into the stage was a cross that Alistair had been tied to. A lot of this went over last episode when you cut him down. He only said one thing as he came through, and he gripped Agatha's wrist. Oh, look at that smile. You can't let him finish. And then, and see.
Finish what? Finish what?
Tell us, you dramatic bastard.
Tell us, you dramatic bastard? Is that what you just said?
Then you were trying to poke him in the face and stuff to wake him up. Now, you were all sort of deciding on what to do in the situation because apparently you're at the country Silver Twilight Lodge, which is something that Althea had figured out in one of the previous episodes. And you were, I believe at the end of last game, you were sort of deciding... Actually, there is one thing I need to take care of because it was sort of circumvented. Althea had stated that she was going to rifle through Joe's, thug number 2, Joe's pockets looking for more bullets for the Lugers. Now,
Eyeless Joe. One-eyed Joe.
Yeah.
No, he's not in the... What does he?
That's the one who got shot
so he got shot through the eye, and his brain splattered all
Regal
over
took the
Alistair's
eye, and then shot him through the eye.
That's not all Regal did, and that can be discussed later, but Marion's the only one who's seen that.
I'm so happy that this little fuck's back. Don't ever leave me.
He's just on your, it's just on your shoulder, and it's just like, chirp, chirp, chirp. It just seems really happy. It's like happy raven noises.
I really shouldn't be into this supernatural shit, but you're cool and kind of a boss, so just don't ever leave me.
But as you look at Regal, of course, once again, you notice there's blood dripping down from the beak, and there's blood all over the talons.
Legendary!
Blood on the feathers. But anyway...
you say this like it's a bad thing.
I
You're protecting people, right?
You search for more rounds, and I'm just going to take care of this really quick. Let's pull up the loot.
I wanted any more ammo and anything else that might be useful that's on him.
So, you find 2 mags. Or, bullets. You find 16 more bullets is the easiest to put it. It can, hold 8. So, basically, you have 2 guns.
Okay.
Basically, you have 2 clips.
So,
2 clips of 8 is the easiest way to put it.
The Luger I have has 4 bullets left in the clip.
Holy Lord.
In the chamber. And then I now have 16 additional ammo to reload.
Yeah, but you have 2 Lugers.
Yes. But only one has any ammo in it.
Correct.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, so now that that's taken care of, we can go back to Regal being excited, as he would be. Simon has Alistair sort of stood up with Alistair's arm over, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Simon's sort of holding him up. Simon, for his slight frame, is deceptively strong. Right? He doesn't seem to have an issue carrying Alistair, and the group was sort of deciding what to do, because some suggestions were, well, there's probably vehicles here.
The Packard is in the back.
Yeah.
No. Here at the country Silver Twilight Lodge.
Actually, Amos, the door that we went through at the top of the stairs, there's some sort of spatial connection. There's some... This Silver Twilight Lodge, we know that the members of this lodge have their hands in a number of unsavory dealings, and we know there is more than one Silver Twilight Lodge. So, through some phenomena involving transport across distance and space and some spatial anomaly, I'm sure there is a scientific explanation for this. There is a great deal of research into mathematical physics, but we are not at the same built Silver Twilight Lodge that we arrived at this morning. We are at the Silver Twilight Lodge located in the countryside.
Can I perform a first aid check on Alistair?
Well, you had already done a medicine check
did
last
I?
game,
Yeah, okay.
where you had realized that with all the different injuries, part of the arm flayed, he's been stabbed a couple of times, burns, gashes, that he should be dead.
Right.
The amount of injuries over a short period of time, you'd figure the person, but when you asked Simon about it, Simon was just like, some people are just more resilient than others.
Right.
So we could, if we left from here, we would, I'm hoping that there's a vehicle here, but you were the last ones to be around, to be in the building in the Silver Twilight Lodge that we came from. Althea and I have been, in other spaces that the door can take us to. Is it possible to escape back through there, or would we get caught?
So, a couple of things. Thing number one, the route that we took to get here, through the stairs, through the third floor.
Did you close the door?
I don't think. No, we left it. We saw it was open when we came to it, so we left it open.
Okay, good. Then we can very easily get back to the city Silver Twilight Lodge.
Interesting. Before we get to that, really quick, what I was trying to finish, because you were asking. Last we checked, there is a straight shot between back here, back to the Silver Twilight Lodge that we came in from, to the back door, and the Packard is there, and no skeet to be found.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's an option. We don't know if there's any vehicles here. Clearly, it would be potentially safer and closer, but we don't know where that thug fucked off to. He clearly went in the other direction than where the City Twilight Lodge door is.
Yes.
Something to keep in mind. You go that way, you risk running into that bloke if you don't have a direct shot to the vehicles that are here. We have a straight shot back, because all of the cultists and guests had moved further into the lodge by the time we had tried to look for you.
And while this place does appear abandoned, either he's running to speak to whoever else is here, if it's not abandoned, or it is abandoned and he's running to his own vehicle, and that's the only vehicle here. So I think you're right. That is our best shot.
A lot of ifs. I assume you were gonna talk about the tower.
The tower?
I was going to talk about the door is the exact same phenomenon as that we had experienced before. So you said that obviously we're in country estate. We came from the city estate. We had something similar where we went down a hallway and down a set of stairs, and all of a sudden it was going up. We have no idea how. It just was started to go up. And the only place that we figured it was the tower. That tower that we see from the beginning of the building. It is exactly the same scene as at the Church of Contemplation with the bodies on the wall.
As Gauls?
Yes, but it's more incomplete. I don't know how else to explain that.
The way that we sussed it out is it looks like the events of what's going on up in that room. The bodies were pinned to walls. They were opened. There was a pyramid of heads. There was
Symbols
drawings on the floor that seemed comparable to some of the symbols we had seen in some of the other ritual sites. What we had noticed is that the ritual seems to have, at its oldest state, taken place a couple of weeks ago to most recently within a few days. Which is an interesting fact because it encompasses similarities between the events that we witnessed up at the Church of Contemplation, which we know Gaul had a stake in, as he left his trademark on the bodies. That trademark was not on the bodies here in the tower.
Oh.
Also similar to the immolation scene that we saw at Swill's Gullet in the house.
But it was like at its most incomplete stage.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
My theory is that whoever started the ritual at the top of the tower either was directly involved in the experimentation of different methods of approach, or went through after the fact and learned more to complete the ritual that we found in the tower. Either that tower was meant to be duplicated at Swill's Gullet or at the Church of Contemplation, or those two were meant to perfect what has finally been completed in the tower.
And is there signs that whatever that ritual was in the tower has been completed? Was there...
I don't know enough of the
that.
symbols. I have no idea. But also, it should be noted that remember the boulder that was in Swill's Gullet?
Yep.
There's another one here.
We did see that.
We came across one in one of the rooms in the hallway before we came through the door.
Yep, that's the one.
That's where we at.
Yeah.
Have you found that the sensation it gives you is similar to when you're walking through these hallways?
Your ears popping. That shift.
Not as violent, obviously. None of us got our noses bleeding, but does it not seem a little familiar to you?
We did feel a shift. We found a library, and entering the library, there was a notable shift, as well as there was a mechanical sound, as if something falling into place. But
every time we open the doors, you say in the library.
We did find a library.
Found a library.
The library felt different than the hallways.
Yeah, almost as if going into it was slightly disorienting, or the sound outside of it just kind of fell away and you were in another space, basically.
I do believe that when we walked into it, we thought it should have been on the outside of the building, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The doorway to it should have been like the wall to the outside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it opened up into a massive library. Beauty and the Beast style. But a massive library. But another note about it, it is almost identical in architectural design as the Althea's library. Or, sorry, Aloysius's library in the mansion on the hill.
Yeah, no, we found the library. We've grabbed a book from it too, actually. There's like a ship's log in a glass cabinet, like in a glass thing. We got
A ship's log, like a sailing ship.
Like I have it in my satchel, but I know that we want to talk about everything, but we got to get out of here. He needs help.
Yeah,
and I'm going to point at Alistair.
Oh, right. Yes. So what is our
I think
goal
straight
then
shot.
is straight
Packers.
through,
Straight shot back to the back.
through the city.
From where we came.
All right.
Familiarity. is
Simon, you're good to
policy.
drive?
Okay.
So Simon's sort of looking at you all quickly for a second and is like, well, I mean, yeah, we could get Alistair out of here. Of course, that is of utmost importance, but there is something going on here.
He did say we can't let him finish.
You two can
know-
drive away.
Who could it be? The ritual that you two saw? That it isn't finished, and we have to stop it from completing somehow.
We can. And I guess I'm going to ask this as a player, because I would love to keep talking. Like I like that we're on to something. We're going to get all this stuff talked about, but there is the real tangible thing that Alistair's there. Is it one of those situations that we're like, let's deal with this and then resume this talk, or can we? Or does it feel like it's not urgent enough that we can talk about this and then proceed with Alistair afterwards?
Even though it doesn't seem,
we're not making it worse if we sit and talk.
No, because even though it might seem like in another situation you would need to get out of here, I fully get that. Simon now has Alistair sat down. Alistair's breathing. Alistair is stable.
Okay.
And it might seem a little bit out, but I'd rather, as a keeper, have this conversation fully happen. Perfect. So that way, in a later game when you have a chance to finish it, we don't go over the same thing.
Yes.
Okay. Is that fair?
No, that makes perfect, because that would depend how I would answer, because I want to follow that line of questioning.
I'm going to say that Simon is going to be sort of occupied
with keeping
doing
Alistair.
some first aid on Alistair to try to get him well enough to be able to travel to the outside the house, and he will let you know when Alistair is ready to be moved.
There we go.
That works.
I will let Simon know as well that if necessary, I do have something on me that in small doses could provide some pain relief for Alistair, if you feel it's necessary.
Simon just sort of looks at you. So, like good time drugs.
I'll just reach into, like, because I had it in, like, a little infant, and I'll just pull out the vial. Doesn't have a label or anything, but...
Simon just sort of looks for a quick second, as you're just holding
Yeah.
the vial with liquid in it,
Yeah.
and he's like, interesting. You brought this with you potentially for yourself?
I brought it with me because it has a variety of uses.
Yeah, to get you fucked up.
Myself or potentially someone else.
Which is fine. I'll let you know if I need it, although I'm not sure how Alistair's body right now in its weakened state could handle such chemicals.
Okay.
Although it is interesting to have, because if you inject that into the wrong person. Anyway, and he's going back to the...
Marion gives you a very concerned look.
Can I do a chemistry or a medical check so I know what it is? Or
It's
is it very obvious?
It's an unlabeled vial of clear liquid.
It's water!
Extreme success.
You'd have to have it.
Fair enough, and it's probably smaller.
Well, roll me a chemistry check. Yeah. Just roll me a chemistry check.
1% out of 51.
Wow.
Bro,
okay, so
what
maybe
the
she can smell it from across the room.
Now, give me 1 second.
Even though it has no odor.
So good.
I need to...
Context cues, too.
I believe I have it.
Her eyes are a mass spectrometer.
Just give me a second. Do you have wrote down exactly what it was, or did I leave it loose?
We both know what it is.
Yes, so
Yeah, like as in...
you can go ahead and tell her then.
Oh.
Because a 1%?
Yeah.
She's like, She'll a 1% is a critical success.
Oh, yeah.
That's even more
it's
than an
liquid
extreme.
heroin.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's heroin. Yeah.
Having fun time drugs. Anyway, back
Player
to
to player.
to your question. Do we think the ritual upstairs is okay? Let's. I'm sure you all found some pretty weird shit too. So.
Well, we did find Gall.
I'm sorry. What?
Albert Gall is at. Well, we were following him. Well, okay. So we when I came upstairs to search for Alistair, I was hiding from footsteps, and it turned out to be one of the masked, robed members of the Silver Twilight Lodge. He didn't find me, but as I was hiding, but then Gall snuck up behind him and violently murdered him.
That was the body we found.
And proceeded to peel his face off.
I'll put a shoulder on Marion. Shoulder on Marion. And a Marion shoulder.
Thank you.
And a
Peel
Marion
his face
shoulder.
off? Why? Is that a thing that he normally does? Does he normally peel faces?
You're talking about a man who eats cheeks. Like,
That's different than peeling
seriously?
faces. It's an MO. Like, is it a thing he normally does? That's out of character.
He eats cheeks.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he did that. He seemed to at first be attempting to take the individual's mask off, but then cut around the mask to take the face and the mask at the same
Because
time.
He couldn't remove
Right.
it himself, so he took the whole face with it.
This brings us back to the ritual conversation, actually. Let's come back to that in a second, because I think this brings up a very important point. I suspect that the ritual in the tower has done what it needs to do. To a point. I think the chests had been opened. I don't know if it was from within or from without. The last time we saw those bodies in the Tower of Contemplation, there were slugs in them, correct?
We have also found a number of slugs.
Yeah, so did we. May have accidentally pissed off a bunch and set them loose, but anyway.
What?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second. So, there's a lot to unpack here. We found a room where a man was preparing bodies, the other staff, so good on you for leaving when you did. The reason why we started to come looking for you is because the staff suddenly disappeared. And upon going into the kitchen, it looked like it was very sudden.
Oh,
They
dear.
were grabbed and taken. And sure enough, we did find a room where they were being prepared.
Butchered.
And fed into vats filled with slugs. Hundreds of them. Interestingly enough, wearing the masks seemed to calm them, but upon not having a mask, it seemed to rile them.
Rile them as in to attack or
Yes.
to copy?
Let me put it this way: they
Oh.
broke the tanks.
Yeah, just by looking at, I think it was your face.
Yeah, you were wearing a mask. I wasn't, for reasons. And I walked out, and they went crazy, I guess is the only way I can describe it. And then all of a sudden we heard the tanks break, and we closed the door.
They had started trying to copy her face, didn't they?
It wasn't Agatha.
No, they were looking... Oh, no, they were looking like Skeet.
Or Marion.
Mary was the one upstairs.
Yeah, that's
The ones
true,
downstairs had, like... They look
True.
like Skeet, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
One of the
I'd have to check through my
we've
notes, but let's keep it
determined
going.
through some of what we've uncovered, we did find a tank of very small slugs that all began to copy myself.
Yeah, we found those.
And yes, in the you said you found the remains
Smashed
of
face
the
body,
poor
yeah.
soul that Gall got a hold of. We also found bodies formed from the liquid, the goo, the black goo that the slugs seem to secrete, and the ones we saw, we didn't look at we didn't look into all of the tanks, looked like skeet. We believe that once the slugs copy an individual, that is who they will always copy. They have some sort of memory of a figure.
Just very quickly,
Yeah.
and then you're going to jump right into it. Did I describe when you went into the room where the body was that there was a top hat on the body?
Yes.
Yes.
Saw that?
Yes.
Cool. I just
Yes,
and I did refer to it as Gall's top hat.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanted to make
you're
sure
right.
that I
Yeah.
didn't screw that up.
Yep.
And if the top hat wasn't there, I had a plan for something else.
Okay.
Nice.
First things first. I just want to reiterate, just go back to a point that I brought up and why I brought it up. Do you have masks?
No.
We're going to have to find a way to get you each masks. I have a sneaking suspicion that not only will the worms have a much more difficult time trying to... What have they normally tried to attack on us every time they attack us?
I suppose they go for faces.
Well, that helps protect the
That's
face.
also the
but
first
also,
thing that they copy when they are looking to copy a person.
They also seem to not care about you if you have a mask on. We may have to try and find our way to get you masks. Now, I just want to make sure that was stated.
Does the wooden mask have the same effect?
It didn't seem to act differently towards me with the wooden mask versus the porcelain mask.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't... But then again, there is some kind of weird interaction between the masks as well, so we'll guess it's a risk that I'm putting on. But we know the porcelain masks work. But...
Any other face coverings?
Never had a chance to try it. At least these masks didn't piss them off as soon as you took it off. Wild.
Right.
However, so you said you found vats
Wait.
What you about the black goo bodies?
Yes, in another... So, the door that you went through at the top of the stairwell, you mentioned that you'd also gone through another door on a stairwell going down?
Yeah, it was one of the rooms where the guests would robe up.
Interesting. I didn't realize any of those rooms had stairs.
They didn't. It's a broom cupboard. It was upon closing their doors in a certain order that when the door was then opened, that then it would happen.
It was that phenomenon you were talking about.
Well, we noticed, and I'm going to pull out the key which key do I have? I have one key and you have two keys. You have one of the keys you have the key with a handkerchief tied on it.
I have key number 3, which I think has the handkerchief.
Yeah,
a little ribbon or whatever on it.
Yeah.
And then I have, I want to say it was key number 1.
And then I have key 2, which gets us here.
I think so.
So I'm going to pull out key 2.
What?
The door at the top of the stairs, the reason why it's so important that you left it open, it will lead the mechanism to set where it will transport you to is through these keys. Using a different key will set the door to direct to a different location. This key is one we used to get here, and then one of the other keys took us to a warehouse down by the Boston docks.
What? Where does the third one go?
We don't know.
Oh no!
Where'd you get the keys from?
Our faceless friend had them on him.
Which is...
Point at the body with the eye shot out.
No.
No.
No, the one with the top hat on it.
Oh,
Yes, the one that Gall
That one.
took care of.
Wait.
We climbed up to the top of the stairs following Gall, so I don't know where he went.
Thought, and this is a question for the keeper. When I found Marion, right?
I'm listening.
Yeah. When I found Marion, and the body was up in the corner, like propped up in the corner.
It was faced toward the corner of the
Yep.
room with the head laid down
Like
on the
laid
floor,
down.
and of course the head had been
It's
smashed
been
in.
smashed in and stuff.
Right. And there was top hat on top. And no ropes.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Was the top hat there when I went in?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That was.
Yeah, Gall left
I'm
it.
pretty sure I described that as well. I'm pretty sure that's what
You probably did.
well, for us, you did. Because unless you removed the top hat.
Okay.
No, we did not.
Nobody moved the top hat.
Okay.
I don't know that Gall knew that the keys would do that, or he probably would have taken them.
Yeah, because he took the robes off the body and he put them on, even though they seemed a bit too short for him, because he's quite tall and lanky. And he took
The mask.
the skinned off face, because the
Mask
skin is still in the mask, and he put it on.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
And there was blood pooling around and through the eyes because it was the skin
I
of
encountered
the figure.
So Marion
And
and I
he
again
put
put a
it
hand on
on.
her shoulder. Encountered him with the. I don't want to say poor cultist, but
Unfortunate?
unfortunate cultist. I encountered him when searching for Marion in the hallway. It took me a moment because he was already... It was a robed figure with a mask.
Don't do cults,
But there
kids.
was blood running from the eye sockets in the mask, and the robe didn't fit very well. And that's when I realized it was Gall.
And you followed him up to the door that you left open?
We followed where we believed he went. We didn't go... We assumed he went up the stairwell, as when we turned the corner down the hallway, he was gone, and this was the logical place to go. He may have gone into one of the rooms.
Yeah.
Did you said you saw, he didn't see you.
He did see
He
me.
did.
And he didn't attack you?
No, he...
He almost seemed to feel that we were on his side.
He
Said it before.
he bowed to me, actually. And I have no idea why, but then he just turned around and he left and went up around the corner, and that's when I went and kept looking for Marion. And we haven't seen him since.
So the thing is, as well, as during this time, Marion, you were having a mental break for the hallway thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were in the room behind the curtain, frozen, just
Yeah.
and this is all Althea out in the hallway with her
That's a good point.
interaction with Gall. You do recall hearing a voice that was not Gall's and also not Althea's, say something as well in the hallway, which came just before Gall doing a quick bow and leaving.
Can I ask a metatextual question?
Yes.
Would the
and
sound
no.
would the sound of that voice be similar to the voice that came out of Althea earlier that day when we were listening to her in the talk, and as a group we were interrogating the king through her that morning?
You weren't there to hear it.
I know. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, would she know that the voices were similar?
She was having a mental break.
Fair.
So she just knows she heard a voice, but she was having a mental break. Yeah.
That's fine.
I am actually kind of astounded with the bow thing. That's very uncharacteristic.
I think there's a lot of things about Gall that we have... I don't want to use the word misinterpreted, but that there's things that we've assumed, but...
I'm going to reiterate a theory I stated this morning. That Gall and us have the same intentions. Horribly different ways of going about it, but remember,
Certainly.
he tried to pull me into the alleyway. He was not attacking until I resisted, but he wanted to talk with me.
I think he wanted to take you through a door. A door that you wouldn't be able to see without him.
What?
I'm going to explain that one in a second, but I'm going to reiterate a theory I had this morning, and then we're going to get to that in a second. Remember, Heinrich tried to take you somewhere.
Yes.
He did not try to hurt you.
Well, he had a grenade.
I believe that was in terms to make you do what he wanted. When Gall attacked me, he had fucking garden shears. Yes, I'm not saying that they're very good at this whole persuading thing, but they didn't attack either of us at first in those instances.
If I can interject, I can't be completely certain, as it was quite unsettling, but I believe Gall knew I was in the room when he attacked the robed and masked man.
Okay, well, that's intentions to discuss later. Interesting. Then he wanted you to follow him, I suspect.
He didn't make any movement or sound to the suggestion, but he didn't attack or reveal me either.
From the stories I've been hearing about Gall's interactions with them, can I roll a psychology roll to maybe glean more information from
Psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalysis?
Yeah. And while you're rolling that, and you can go ahead and roll it, just let me know if you succeed or not.
Yep, 63 out of 78.
Nice.
Okay, and I'll come back to that for a second, because that's important because where you've actually worked with Gall, so there's just a couple of things that I'm just going to rehash about Gall in general. And something else that was really notable, and I know you would have probably gotten to it in a couple minutes, but I'm going to do it at the same time because this will make sense. Gall also looked... So when he was stalking into the room, is the easiest way to put it.
Like a hunter.
Yeah. To take down his prey, like a predator to take down his prey, and he wrapped around, dragged the body to the floor. When that happened, he was very serious, intentful. But the moment he finished smashing the face into the tiled floor, when he stood up, using the head, pushed himself up, he stood up, he also looked really confused. He had this confused, and you're not sure if that's really, because you never really met Gall.
No.
Like, stopped him from being shot, right?
But he was actively running away at the time. So.
But he looked confused, as if that could just be his resting face, but you're not entirely sure. So I'm just going to quickly go back to your psychoanalysis of Gall. Gall has some issues.
Tell me about it.
No shit.
Of the century.
Okay.
Okay.
From what you can recall, some points, because for the audience of the view, you invented Gall.
I did.
Right? I've taken it and ran with it.
Oh, yeah.
But for your backstory, you had this character in there. You came up with the name.
Yeah.
And I ran with it. And it is... the character is quite interesting to me. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong because you wrote it, that he was arrested for attacking his employer. Was it at a tailor shop?
It was at a tailor shop with a pair of tailoring scissors. Yeah.
Correct. And he did at one point, and this is just for you, because I'm not sure if you've mentioned to the party, I believe you have at some point, that he also attacked you at some point.
Yes, he did.
That's why you wear scarves and long neck things.
You know, he likes to nom on cheeks and try to
Nom
nom on my
on
neck.
cheeks.
Give me a very awful love bite. That's what that is.
But also, he also seemed a bit enamored with you in some way or form. For example, when you, and to be clear, when it came to the Church of Contemplation, the only two people to see that room were Amos and Agatha. Just like you were the only two to see the room in the
Funny it worked out.
Yeah,
because what happened is Agatha freaked out, went down the ladder broke, landed on Marion, hurt Marion's back, which is why you found it hard to open the door because you had a strain in your back from Agatha falling on you.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you weren't there for it. Okay. So Gaul also lured Amos into the alleyway, and I'm sure at some point you guys would have discussed this, even if it wasn't on. They had time during the BBR breakfasts to discuss some stuff, just to get it cleared up. He wanted to talk to Amos.
Yes.
And when Amos resisted, well, let's be clear, he attacked Amos because he jumped out of the dumpster and injected you with something to bring you, and he was quite creepy on the road talking to the couple. Like, he was convincing. Remember?
Yeah, he's like, oh, my friend's just really drunk. I'm helping him out,
Yeah, it was actually quite...
convincing gaslighting for a fucking psychopath.
It was very... I really liked that episode. It was a very harrowing episode of the way things could have went.
It's a good thing my character's addicted to alcohol.
And it could have been quite a struggle. But even at the end result of that, when he went back into the sewer, he was saying, I just wanted to talk. Okay? Now, he went about it in the worst possible manner. As is, he went full Gaul. And that's what he does. But you've also found out some information about how there's a connection between Heinrich and Gaul. And Heinrich also put a gun to Agatha. It was Agatha that he did it to. Marion was at the phone. He went to Agatha, put the gun in her ribs.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say once again.
I wasn't there.
It was Agatha to rise her up to get Agatha to leave because Heinrich needed to talk to you.
Oh.
Right?
Wait a second.
So no, I'm just, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are those is some people thinking some stuff now? So I'm getting a bit excited because stuff's coming.
There's something that we've seen that we don't understand is important that they need us to talk to them about.
So basically there was a connection as well with, Barnabas, Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones. Barnabas, who went, I believe it was Taunton? I have it in my notes here, but it was Taunton Medical Facility, correct? It wasn't Danvers for Gaul, was it?
It was not Danvers.
It was Taunton.
That was the original one.
Yeah. I have it in my notes here, but I mean, just to keep things going, I know it wasn't Danvers, and the only one I know for record is Taunton. Or Taunton. Tatooine. It was Tatooine. Sorry, oh god, we're going to get sued by Disney. We're going to get sued by Disney. You're going to have to cut that out because they will sue me for that one. Maybe. So...
cut out everything but you're going to have to cut that out.
I'm going to get sued by...
Now you just sound noofy. I'm going to get sued by...
Okay.
Moving on.
So, basically, the only reason I'm rehashing upon all of this stuff is Gaul, from what you know, Gaul felt that, how do I put this? In his mind, all the people he's killing are bad people.
Yep.
There's something wrong with them.
Yep.
Whether, I'm not sure if I've ever said it that way.
Yeah, I think...
But it's justified to him in some way that the people that he kills need to be killed. Okay?
We also established that he might be a sin eater.
Correct, and that was something that Simon had brought up at some point, because black blood, or a darker pigmentation of blood, you shot him a couple of times in the alleyway, and it didn't stop him. It hurt him, but it didn't stop him. And Simon had talked on different occasions about when you lose control. It looks like a sin eater who's lost control.
We also did see that he had the aftermath of a sin eater curation ritual down in the sewers after the storm.
Correct. There was the bowl, there was the sugar, there was the bodies that had caused this type of storm. So the psychoanalysis check is sort of just trying to piece some of that together. Where when he was under surveillance, under care. Yeah. Being observed. I know there's a better term for
Observation?
it. Yeah, maybe under observation. That there was a fair amount of times that he just was confused, or people, the thought was as well, I'm not sure what the terminology was back then, that he was off in his own little world a lot of the time. And when he came clear from that, he could be aggressive. There's a term for it. In and out of reality. That's schizophrenia, right?
Psychosis?
Like a psychosis.
He would have episodes of being...
Yes. Yeah. Episodes of being in and out. So the idea was, of course, that he wasn't in his right mind, and that it would be better to observe him to make sure he's not hurting people. From what you've seen. Now to go back just a little bit more. Sorry, I know it's an info dump, but I'm just trying to relay important information because it was already discussed. About when you were in the tower, okay, and you saw the ritual. It seemed more clean. Disgusting. There was the book, like a shelving unit with jars of organs and eyes and stuff like that. There was a pyramid of heads, but over by like a work desk. There was bodies hung around. There was no picture of Agatha like in the Church of Contemplation. Remember? There was like right across the bodies was almost like a likeness of Agatha. But what you saw on the floor was very clean, crisp, marked into the floor. Was like math. It was like
with what?
It was
okay.
It was almost like equations, like
I'm not sure if I said it was blood.
Oh.
No, I don't.
I think it was just meant to be like maybe chalked or something like that.
Okay.
It wasn't the formula wasn't in blood on the floor. It was a white residue.
Oh, so chalk. Okay.
Yeah. So it was like a chalk. And I just need to clarify something that may have been forgotten. It's been a while since we played. Agatha, when you were looking at it with your good eye, you saw a ritual, right? It's almost like math. You just couldn't pick it apart. But when you looked at it with your eye hole, yes, laugh all you want, you saw that it was different than what you saw. And when you looked at it with both eyes, the eye hole and your eye, the two different formulas almost melded together into one complete formula. I'm bringing that up because it's important.
Yes, it is.
That's what you saw. And the connection is, when you were at the Corbett Farmstead back at Swill's Gullet, there was a ritual that was performed there with whitish marks on the floor.
Yeah.
With a pile of papers around, right? And the burnt body.
Yep.
A burnt body, ripped in half burnt body against the wall, blah, 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 blah. Also, you've seen a similar site at the Church of Contemplation Tower, where it seemed like stuff was written across the bodies.
Yeah.
Okay? Which was different. But you realize that the Corbett Farmstead, the Church of Contemplation Tower, and this tower are three different versions of the same ritual.
Yeah.
They were attempting I'm not going to say each person, but they were different.
Each attempt.
Yeah, there were different attempts at the same thing, and the one you saw in the bell tower at Silver Twilight Lodge seemed to be complete. Not that the ritual had been done, but the math for the ritual had been done. And the math works out.
But slugs came out of the bodies in the tower.
In the tower with the Church of Contemplation.
Yes. But the torsos were already opened in the one in the tower.
Yes. In the one here in the Silver Twilight Lodge. They were splayed open.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I know this is a really long-winded way for your psychoanalysis, but I'm just trying to connect a few things, if you will. Is that Gaul is under psychosis where he feels he's in the same reality, he's not in the same reality, which makes him completely erratic in his behavior. You all realize from everything that's happened that he is not on the side of the Silver Twilight Lodge.
No, he's on the same side as us.
Well, he's on his own side.
If anything, he was on whatever side Heinrich was on.
That's the theory that I've got, is that the two of them... Okay, so to reiterate, the whole theory is, because it's been a while since I stated it, so Heinrich went to Swill's Gullet, found something, did not return it to the New England Center of Antiquities, took it to his own estate, then shortly thereafter shot up the New England Center of Antiquities. Seems to, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong in this, but seems to have some disagreement with how the New England Center of Antiquities is involved, is doing things, is maybe just trying to silence the whole thing. I don't know. Shortly thereafter, and when they shot up the place, I assume Gaul was driving. Who was driving if he was shooting out the window? The two are clearly in tandem. We stumble upon a second ritual that was attempted, similar to the one at Swill's Gullet, that clearly Heinrich saw. And now, after seeing that second one at the Tower of the Church of Contemplation, Heinrich and Gaul are attempting to pull Agatha and I off to the side, having seen the tower and the one at Swill's Gullet, probably being some of the only people that have seen both of those rituals. Continuing on, we've already discussed that it's possible that Gaul is a failed or is some kind of out-of-control Sin Eater. Simon, what happens if a Sin Eater goes out of control? What does that mean?
It's a variety of different things, really, that could happen.
Does possession count? Losing your mind to a different entity?
Mental instability would definitely be a common thing, but the issue with something like that is it's impossible to predict what they're capable of doing. Mm-hmm. For example, even though whatever happened with the runny book, which is what he calls it, with the runny book, which causes going to seizures, I feel more of myself than I ever had before. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, although you're walking a little bit funny, probably because your bones are. I've always tried to be much more careful about my physical being. I mean, you're a mess. You're a fucking mess.
Yeah, thank your previous person you hired for that one.
But yeah, it's really impossible to predict. All we know, it would be a fearsome adversary if that's what he is.
Well, and that's my point. I think right now we're all on the same page. As soon as whatever we're trying to do is stopped, I suspect that we'll be on less than equal footing again. But I think for now we're all on the same page. That all being said, I think the next step of what the fuck that ritual is continues on to what you were talking about. Can you please tell us again the goo looking like skeet?
So the third key, the one that we tied a ribbon on to identify it, led to a warehouse at the Boston docks. Within that warehouse, we found a number of glass tanks filled nearly to the top. These are fairly high tanks, taller than a man, with this black goo, the black liquid, similar to what we found in the barrel behind the haunted house.
Hi, was it Gaul that bought that house?
No.
It was never mind.
We suspected that Gaul was connected to that house, but looking back now, any evidence connecting Gaul to that house is purely circumstantial. Mm. It was owned by one of the Corbett's. Was it Walter?
Walter Corbett. He wanted to be buried in the basement.
Yes. Well, if you recall, we found an open-topped vat filled with that thick black goo. This goo was similar, but not quite as thick. It was more runny. Draining the tanks, there was a body that very closely resembled skeet, to the point of it was skeet, aside from the fact that once the goo was fully drained, the body began to disintegrate.
So it wasn't stable.
No.
It was an experiment.
Each tank was a slightly different
combination of black goo and white goo.
Or a different purity of the goo. As we suspect, the theory is that the goo is extracted from these slugs and purified in some way to create a copy of a person. And that the versions of skeet that we have encountered, you yourself encountered one that melted before your eyes.
He burnt himself alive, yeah.
Was likely the result of that experiment.
Oh, and that's been a running theory of mine for a while, that there's something going on, that skeet may have been swapped, could be swapped at any time, might already be swapped, could possibly be waiting to be told to do something.
We have no way of knowing if our skeet is the original.
I know. That's the problem.
I have a question about the tanks. When you got into that warehouse, were there people there?
No.
Were these tanks built in a way that after possibly completion, the thing inside could come out?
Not...
Almost like a magician's tank trap.
Yes, exactly like a magician's tank trap. There was no ladder on the inside or handholds on the inside, so...
Once you're in, you're in.
Once you're in, but normally in a magician's tank trap, there's a rope or something lowered to allow said magician to climb out.
I know what you're thinking, Agatha.
Uh-huh.
The library.
Oh, that's what I saw in the book, yeah.
Yes, we saw a book on...
What about the books on the table?
There was a bunch of manuals, like plumbing trades books, but one of them that stood out was a magician's illusionist thing, and it was open to a tank.
We saw
like
a tank trick.
Yeah, like a tank trick. It's a manual for magicians. That's what it is.
Interesting.
So that's
kind of cool. So questions about your tower and this formula. What we saw in this warehouse, that was definitely an experiment. Each version of the tank that we drained the liquid out of had a different version of quote unquote skeet inside it, but each one was one would be formed better than the other, it seemed like each combination of liquid, it was a different ratio of liquids together. You said that you saw your formula was like in 2 parts.
So okay, now.
Keep going.
Okay. As odd as it is, without my eye in this one section of face, I forgot which one it is.
It's your right eye.
I can see things. I don't know how to explain it. I don't have an eye. There's no organ there, but I can see things. And when I looked at the formula on the floor, it's the same thing as when we were at your estate with the sarcophagus before we opened it with the book. I saw symbols in the air. It was the same kind of idea.
What sort of symbols?
I can't read them. I couldn't tell you exactly what they were, but I can see alchemaic. That's as close as I can get to it. The only thing I can say is through not using my non-eye, it looks like a chalk mark on the floor, as all of you have seen from other spaces. Just using my non-eye, I see something completely different. Using them both, the combination of the two formed almost like a complete
scientific formula.
Instructions for what?
I don't know what the instructions would be.
Can we take a look at the ship's log?
Sure.
You found something referencing a ship as well, didn't you, Althea?
I did. And I'll put my hand inside my shirt and pull out a piece of paper, open it, and it's got a picture. It's a sailing ship, an artist's drawing of it.
Can I take a look at the...
You can take it. Yeah.
Does it have a name of the ship on there?
Yep, just give me 1 second. So I do have it wrote down as well.
have more questions about these vats because I think this might narrow down what the fuck the ritual is, and we might be fucked. like, really fucked.
Give me one
More
second
so?
here, I'm sorry.
Bruh. Yes.
There's an army of slugs out
Okay,
here
so
somewhere.
the name on the ship, I'm not sure if I told you what
You
the
didn't, and I didn't ask.
We didn't ask.
You just
Yeah.
said it was an artist. Yeah.
The name on the ship is Grampus. Grampus.
Grampus?
Can somebody roll me natural world, please?
Yes. I can also do
Anyone can roll it. Grampus.
I'll try just
Why
in
not?
case.
Let's
Ah.
make it happen.
What is that roll? 10%? 12%? Can I burn luck on that?
14.
I'm burning luck on it, if you'll let me.
Yes, I'm gonna burn. Can I burn 2 luck to get it as a 10%?
It's up. Okay, so you're going to burn 2 luck. The question I have is because I'm going to just be straight up. All I need is 1 success, and the information is the same.
All right, I'd have
regardless
to
of what.
burn 5 to get mine.
Yeah.
So you only have to burn 2.
Yep.
I can burn 4, so yeah, you do it.
mean,
So you've all rolled pretty good, but you also don't get uptick because it's luck.
No, I know.
That's fair.
That's fair. Although I feel weird because it's such a low percentage. I want it to get higher. But then again, you have some skills that are quite high because it's a long-running campaign.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. Grampus is also another term for an orca.
Oh!
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Does the ship's log say anything in the immediate description at the front about the Grampus?
It's the ship log of the Grampus. That's exactly what it is.
where did you find this log again? You said it was in the
Library.
library?
I kind of stole it
Yep.
from
Did
their
you?
library.
You must have gone to the library after we did, though, and we didn't see a ship's log, did we?
I'll be honest, Marion. I went in, I looked over the things that were on the table, and there was some things that caught my eye from a distance, but I felt
That's-
it best not to spend more time.
That's
there
true.
than necessary.
We went through in a hurry, and I stood at the door anyway. So, yeah. Okay.
When you drained the vats, and you said the bodies disintegrated,
They started almost, not like melting, but like breaking down. Almost.
completely, or to like some kind of
No, completely. Like they were just
There
breaking
was a
down at the
residue.
cellular level.
There was a slight residue left over when all of the liquid had drained out.
It was varying degrees of like a white residue on the
Yeah.
inside of the tanks.
and you have a clear liquid. The only clear liquid we've ever seen is in your basement.
Yes.
Wasn't
Different.
wasn't this copy of Skeet that burnt, forming a clear liquid?
No, he just burnt.
Oh, never mind then.
He also had slugs inside him.
True.
Just very quickly, I want to just go back a quick second. Conversation's going great. You did open the ship log, so you notice, and I'm not going to get into great detail, but you notice on the top of the heading, it is the ship log for a ship known as the Grampus.
Yes.
And there's I'm not going to you'd have to research it for a period of time, but there is a list of crew. Okay? A lot of the names are crossed out. They seem to be crossed out, a lot of the names. You're not sure why. They're not marked like killed or anything, but there just seems to be a lot of names that are marked out. But not all the names are marked out, is the thing. And just as you're skimming through, because it is sort of a ship's log, but I mean, you'd have to read the narrative or if it weren't. Right? Is a couple of names that aren't familiar to you. Okay, first off, there's a Dirk Peters. Dirk Peters. Dirk Peters. Okay. There is also an Augustus Bernard. Augustus Bernard. Okay. And then strangely, because it's the crew, but strangely, at the bottom of the crew, inked in clearly at a later date, like it's not part of the crew, but marked into the book is the name Arthur Gordon Pym. And as you're looking at it, could I see your character sheet, Agatha?
Oh,
Because
no.
no, the front.
Oh, sorry.
Because you also saw something that I need to double check something.
She did?
Yeah, this is way back. But I'm just roll me a percentage, because if you roll super high, it's not going to matter anyway.
Okay. 80.
Let's see.
Fuck does it mean? I don't know. Because I only want 2 pieces of information from this book.
Oh my god.
So I don't have time.
Maybe we shouldn't play games
So,
like this that are 5 years long.
As
Too much to remember.
sorry, let me get this point in. So Agatha, as you're sort of, because you and Amos are almost, you know what I mean? You're best buds. 8 ball in the man, whatever you call yourselves.
What? 8 ball in the man.
That's also pretty good.
Amos is 8 ball.
No, 8 ball. Put an 8 ball in there.
Right.
As you're
I get it.
As you're looking over at the ship log, you can't really place it, but the writing of Arthur Gordon Pym looks familiar. It looks, there's something about it, that the writing itself. Now, taking into account, you've already I already rolled for the check if you could really place it, and you can't.
Okay, cool.
But it does look a bit familiar.
Like, yeah, okay.
The only
But that's the point.
2 bits of information I think I have time to really look at would be the last, the timestamp of the most recent shipment, and whatever that shipment may be.
Oh, for the Grampus.
Like the last voyage trip that.
So you're going to skim through the ship log.
Whatever the last logged page is.
Okay, yeah. So the last log page would be in the 1800s.
Yep, that's right.
It wasn't really that long ago, actually.
Any year in the 1800s in particular? I got 3.
It's like the 1900s is how long ago that was.
Give me a second, because I got to check my notes here.
Actually, it's roughly about
I had a
24
date,
years.
May 29th, 1835. So it would be before
It's
that.
before that.
Yeah.
It's before that, for sure.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
That still works.
Pre-1835?
Pre-1835.
That still fits. Anything of note in the log of what was on the ship at that time?
1827. June. In the month of June, 1827.
What the fuck?
Is the last log in the book.
And does it say that it came from with Egyptian artifacts?
You would need to spend a 4-hour block of time to go over the book with a library. These are just little pieces of information
Best
you can get
skill
out.
ever.
Yes.
You do realize something, though, that it was heading to the South Seas. You do manage to garner that. Yeah.
Where did you find that drawing?
In the same warehouse as the vats. There was a work desk off to the side. We were hoping that there would be research notes, experimental logs or something, but there was only industrial blueprints, how to build the vats, and this.
I took this, and I also took, and I just pat right here. I also took one of the prints of like the measurement schematic of one of the vats.
Okay.
Okay.
Here is, I think, my final theory as to what this ritual is. Okay.
Tell us if it's something we need to stop now, then...
Yeah, I'm gonna. So the ritual clearly in the tower seems to gestate slugs in bodies. I don't understand the process. Perhaps for most of it's just rigmarole. I don't know. But clearly the slugs require some kind of human host. They seem to want to go in. Once they go into a body, they then grow more of them. We have seen slews of them come out of bodies.
If I may, we have also seen slug. I assumed that you saw this, but in the room with Gull's victim was also the creature with the spikes.
Yes,
that
I
we
was
saw.
getting to that.
That's what
So-
also generating slugs.
Yes, I was getting to that.
Oh, okay.
So, he looks like a giant slug.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
His mouth, his face splits the same way. They have similar...
I had not considered that.
Obviously, these creatures can generate their own selves somehow. But where do they start from? I wonder if these rituals are in some way methods of generating slugs that then self-perpetuate afterwards. But then there seems to also be this black liquid that comes from them that when combined with this white liquid, which we've seen on its own, can copy whatever it touches, but then does nothing with that, but create it. The black goo, we're not entirely sure what it does. We know it comes from the slugs. That all being said, I wonder, knowing that the slugs seem to not have an interaction with those with masks, we have an entire house of cultists wearing masks. There's no way in hell. Or maybe... So here's where things get interesting. All of the big wigs of Boston are down in the City Silver Twilight Lodge.
Yes.
So they're about to perform some kind of ritual that incorporates them all. So are they, going to get all turned into different versions of Skeet or Walter Corbett or what have you? And then he has control of the entire city? Seems oddly simple for a long-running plan for that to be the case, but then they all look like him. Or is he just going to kill them all? That seems a little simple to me.
I see where you're going with this. They're going to use the slugs that have not been exposed to any other person, to copy.
He's going to create a copy of everybody.
Yes.
Okay, and then he has control over it. So then whomever is created, he is in control of somehow.
They're all important, at least in Boston.
Well, yeah.
Well, yes.
As time is nearing the end of this episode, even a little bit over, I just want to jump in now because there's just something that you've said that I want to sort of expand upon before we end the episode. I would like anyone with biology or chemistry or natural world or something like that to roll me a percentage, because there's something that was said which I'm going to clarify.
No. 52 out of 60 for Althea with biology.
You don't have any of that stuff.
No. I got the base
Can
of
I
natural
follow
world.
my firearm skills?
I got the base of natural world.
Roll it.
Althea, you realize...
It's not bad. It's 25 out of 10.
Althea, you realize, as everyone else is sort of discussing, because you've been fairly quiet, you've been involved, but you've been fairly quiet. As they're talking, and you hear Marion say, "Oh, they have newer slugs in order to create copies of different people." Correct? That's what I heard, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then you can use those. You start thinking, well, that's a bit weird. Why couldn't they do this before? And then you remember, oh, okay. So they were experimenting on the different concentrations of the white, which requires a formula, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The formula to get that right balance.
Yep.
In order to change it. Then you think about something that you haven't really thought before. The point wasn't to create more Skeets.
No.
That's not the point. But that raises another fucking question. Is because the slugs on their own devices create Skeets. They can't create anything else. You've seen them try to do the newer different things with Marion. But the liquids left to their own devices just create Skeets. Why do they just create Skeets?
Thank you for listening to The Call. Our next episode will air Tuesday, September 19th. Please also leave us a review in your podcast app of choice, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button if you're there, and visit our main website for merchant Ko-fi info. As usual, we'd love to thank all of our donators on Ko-fi, including Tyler, Leo, Baba Yaga, D-Devil1193, Alex B, Noah, Alec, Tavin, Josiah, Rosa, Lindraska, and Cyberfox. Music and ambient tracks licensed through Triune Films and Artlist, and your players for tonight were Elizabeth Wells, Janessa Coles, Lindsay Zelansky, and Zach Barrett. Your producer was Rob Hickey, and your GM or keeper was Derek Snow. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.